Hey everybody, Michael the Librarian of Magic, finding and cataloging the magical and pointing you to it. I'm back here on October the 26th with another drawing of a Disney villain for you today. The same disclaimers as always apply to my drawings. If you want to see those disclaimers or any of my other content, there are links at the end of this video. With that out of the way, I will jump straight into the drawing of the day. Today's drawing is Ursula from The Little Mermaid and Flotsam and Jetsam, her pet eels, her henchmen. Ursula is what's called, I think it's pronounced Cacalia, which is a half-human, half-octopus. When I was a kid, Ursula was like the scariest Disney villain to me. A lot of the scenes with her just really creeped me out. Flotsam and Jetsam were scary. The little things that she turns people into when she gets Triton's Triton are creepy. When she becomes the ruler of the seas and then she gets like super huge in the final showdown, she's just really scary. A lot of the stuff in the movie for me when I was younger was really scary. She was voiced in the movie by Pat Carroll, who was an excellent choice for this, an excellent actress, who was mostly known for voice acting, but she did a lot of stuff on TV as well. She had running roles on The Carol Burnett Show, Mary Tyler Moore, lots of guest starring stuff throughout the 70s and 80s, and a little bit in the 90s. I kind of discovered a little more about her a couple of months ago when I was watching the 1965 made-for-TV version of Rodgers and Hammerstein's Cinderella. She played one of the ugly stepsisters in that. I want to say Drusilla. And one of my favorite roles, voice roles that she ever did, that maybe some people are familiar with. She was the voice of Grandma Arbuckle in all of the Garfield holiday specials from the 80s and 90s, like Garfield's Halloween and Garfield's Thanksgiving and Garfield's Christmas. And I really love those holiday specials, and she's the voice of the grandma. Pat Carroll described her notion of Ursula as being deliberately flamboyant, theatrical, having a flair. She's part Shakespearean actress and part used car salesman with a touch of con artist. And that really comes through. I think she kind of understood the vibe of what she was going for. And she's super duper evil. I mean, she just really is holding a grudge against Triton for being banished and will stop at nothing until she gets her revenge. She does have a softer side, especially where Flotsam and Jetsam are concerned. She considers them her babies. So you see a little bit of like motherly instinct from her, but she's pretty much evil through and through. She has a great song, Poor Unfortunate Souls, which, as you know, is always a feature I like in a Disney villain. Pat Carroll was not the original choice for Ursula, and they went through a lot of casting on this one. Originally, they wrote the role with B. Arthur in mind. B. Arthur was dedicated to doing the Golden Girls, though, so she turned down the role. Then they were interested in or auditioned Jennifer Saunders, Nancy Marchand, Nancy Wilson, Roseanne Barr, Charlotte Rae, and Elaine Stritch. They landed on Elaine Stritch. They actually cast her in the role, but then Elaine Stritch's style ended up clashing with the songwriters. I think Alan Menken worked on this one. And they just clashed, and then they decided to give the role to Pat Carroll. And it turned out to be a really good choice, I think. The look for the style, the animation design for Ursula is based on the actor Divine, who was a really famous drag queen from the 60s, 70s, and 80s, who acted in a lot of John Waters' shock movies, midnight movies, exploitation movies, which you may not be familiar with unless you're really into like midnight movies or cult movies, trash movies. You may be familiar with Hairspray, the original film Hairspray, which starred Ricky Lake in the Tracy Turnblad role. Divine played the original mother in the role. The movie, of course, was remade later in the 2000s with John Travolta in the Divine role, which, so the history of that is, or you may have seen Hairspray as a stage show. So Hairspray is a movie that was turned into a stage show that was turned back into a movie, if that's not complicated enough. Anyway, the original movie, Divine played the mom, Edna Turnblad, in the movie, and just was well known for his garish style and has become, you know, an icon for being in a lot of those early shock movies and midnight movies. So if you haven't seen those, I can't say I would recommend them to everybody, but I would recommend them to you if you are interested in something really different: cult cinema, trash cinema, shock value stuff. They're really out there. It's one of those things that I wouldn't recommend to you unless you are really, really trying to expand your horizon. And I would imagine that if you are here viewing my channel for Disney content, John Waters movies and Divine movies would really expand your horizon. So I would say maybe do a little homework on those and see if they're right for you. Yeah, they're interesting. And, you know, Divine became an icon and a style icon in a lot of ways and was the inspiration for the look of Ursula. So that's just a little bit about Divine. In the original Hans Christian Andersen fairy tale, Ursula was just known as the Sea Witch in that story and was not really evil, but was sort of a neutral meddler or neutral interferer. And of course, Disney, as they have done in other villains that I've mentioned in my other videos, decided to make the character an out-and-out villain because it's more interesting for the style of movies that they're usually trying to do. Another piece of interesting trivia about Ursula is, so in the plot of the movie, Ursula steals Ariel's voice in a sort of bargain for Ariel to be able to walk on land and be a human for a few days. And then she transforms herself into a human being. Ursula transforms herself into a human being named Vanessa and steals Ariel's voice. Vanessa and Ariel are both voiced by an actress called Jodie Benson. And because of the Vanessa bits, technically speaking, Jodie Benson is, like, I think the only person in Disney film history to simultaneously voice the hero or heroine and the villain in the same movie, if you want to technically count the Vanessa roles as part of being a villain, since she is Ursula in disguise. So that's kind of an interesting little bit of trivia there. But really, I just kind of wanted to show Ursula and Flotsam and Jetsam are the characters, two of the characters that I think are really cool in the movie. The Little Mermaid is a really fun movie. There's lots of great music in that one. I think, you know, for that reason, it kind of officially kicked off that era that's commonly called the Disney Renaissance. I think it really kind of kicks with The Little Mermaid. It was an excellent movie. It changed a lot for the Disney company. But Ursula is a really scary villain. Even to this day when I watch that movie, she's one of the scarier ones for me. Just her imagery, her evilness, and that scene in the end where she is fighting, where she becomes giant in the ocean and she has to get like rammed through with the ship and everything, and she takes out Flotsam and Jetsam with the Triton on accident and all that stuff. She's just really scary, and her laugh is super evil, and she's acted so well and she's put together so well. It's a well-crafted movie, and as a result, she's one of my top and scary villains, and perfect for me personally for Halloween because she's scary for me. So that's Ursula. Is Ursula one of your scariest villains? Do you really love The Little Mermaid? I know that movie's really popular and it's really a favorite for a lot of people, and I don't blame you. It's a fun one. There's just lots of great music. It's fun animation, an interesting plot, and really cool characters. So yeah, I hope this video was really interesting and informative to you. I hope it was adding something extra, a little magical to your day. And I'm glad that you stuck with me this far. I think there's only like 5 of these left to go before we get all the way to Halloween and are done with the project. So I really appreciate you watching these. I'm really having a blast doing them and learning a lot and just enjoying making these drawings for everybody to see and just to please myself. So thanks again, and we'll see you on the next one. I'll be back tomorrow with another drawing of a different Disney villain. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.